Hey, what's up guys, it's Oakley, and we're going to be taking a look at the Warhammer 2 gameplay. This is something I recorded a while back. We're going to be doing two videos. The first one here is going to be playing the battle map on easy, because this is when I recorded a lot of the cool cinematics, get up close and personal, and then I'll probably upload another one where I played a bit more seriously. But let's go ahead and dive right into it. So here you can see the menu. The background there is simply beautiful. I do love that art. Now you can see it in a bit fuller color. And yeah, you can see all of the different, well, it looks like Saurus Warriors on the right, Skinks in the foreground, and I believe, wow, those are either Saurus Warriors or Croxigars, but they look freaking badass. So I can't wait to see more of the artwork that they have in store. Anyways, there's going to be a bit of an intro cinematic in the very beginning, so once that gets started, I'm just going to go ahead and let that play. Okay, so that was pretty freaking awesome. I do hope that they include more of those in various battles. CA didn't confirm that we would be seeing speeches in all battles, but definitely we would be seeing them in some of the more crafted battle scenarios and quests and stuff like that. But yeah, obviously we're going to do a lot of close-ups in this early game, because, you know, that's what we want to see. We want to see the close-up cinematics, we want to see the artwork. The gameplay is still going to be relatively important, but in this playthrough I'm going to be taking a close look at the units, and boy, oh boy, do they look great. Textures on the ground aren't looking fantastic, but the units themselves looking like really prime stuff. And if you recall, CA did say that they decided not to do mocap on the Lizardmen. Well, I guess they have probably some to some degree, but for the most part, it's not really modeled off of human movement, so they really wanted to get away from it and really embrace the Lizardmen aspect of it. Here, Krokar and Grimlock, they look fantastic, and you'll see their aesthetics are matched even more by fantastic gameplay. They are really fun to use, super powerful units, and I believe in this battle they're pretty vetted up. But yeah, people are going to be having so much fun with him, and even the feral Carnosaur. Just, I mean, you know, can't take it too far. People are going to have fun with dinosaur Aztec warriors in general. And nothing unique about the T-Rex having velociraptors and everything. I think it's all going to be very fun. But yeah, so we're going to be facing off here with a little bit of a contingent, and as the battle goes on, more and more troops are going to be fed in. So we have some battering rams of units here, and they're going to be used to break the initial elven front line. And these feral troops, again, I'll remind you, the mechanics behind it is they are cheaper, but the downside of having feral units is that they can rampage more easily. And again, the rampage mechanic is such that when you get below low health, or 50% health, or if you start taking damage, you'll lose control of your force. Now, it isn't exactly the same as like rampaging in the way running amok, sorry. Running amok before would damage your units. I don't believe this one does, though. And now we can take a look at the trees as well. I did want to show off a bit of the scenery because it looks freaking awesome. I do hope CA really decides to embrace the different the different environments that they have. Clearly in this one, I mean, you have Aztec walls, you have forests and jungles, and I really hope that they get even further into that in the battles. I was just taking a look at the eye candy in this map, and it really had me kind of tearing up at how beautiful it was. The skybox looking great, the effects over here, and I really think that with each passing Warhammer 2, they're going to pass it even further and further, excuse me, and implement more of these little tune-ups after having developed the basis of the game. So Warhammer 1 was developing the basis of it, Warhammer 2 is going to take it a little bit further, and then Warhammer 3 is going to be obviously adding icing on top of the cake. But anyways, we can take a look at some of the units here. The Elves have a wall of spears up front, And again, the way the spears work, and I guess elves in general work, is that they have their kind of game mechanics is such that instead of rampaging when they're below 50% health, what happens to the elves below 50% health is that they start to lose their otherwise charge bonus buffs and defensive buffs. So what that means is in the initial combat they're very, very sturdy, but if you can start putting on some hurt, they'll start to kind of collapse their main line. So that's kind of the mechanics, and then the various units just look absolutely stunning and beautiful. I'll probably be doing another video here soon where we take a look at all of the unit cards that I was able to grab from this and do a comparison of other units thus far released, but at least for this one we're going to be looking at the eye candy. This guy's looking super regal, looks like something you'd see out of Comic-Con. All these guys with super jazzed up, almost plasticky looking armor, way over the top, but that's just how the High Elves roll. And then we do get to see one of their princes, Amandil, and then various other units in the back, some of the elite forces, Swordmasters of Hoeth, and then the Silver Helms, and then they'll also be getting some more reinforcements that will be joining the fight here in a little bit. I do wish that the High Elves were a little bit less spit and polishy. I mean, they look very glamorous, but to me, I think it's a bit overkill. Something I do wish that they would bring back would be kind of how they did it in Medieval 2, where initially in the battle, troops start off very fresh and clean, but as the battle continues and they take damage, their armor gets ruined, it gets kind of muddy, it gets bloody. I really hope that's something that happens. But then again, I guess I can't complain too much because when the blood pack comes out, the blood will stick to the uniforms. And I do wonder, actually thinking about that, what it'll look like. You know, do lizardmen have different colored blood? I'm actually not sure about the lore, but it would be kind of crazy to see a high elf fighting here and then get splattered with a dinosaur worth of blood on the battlefield. But anyways, I'm going to take a look a little bit around in the back lines because I know chariots do come into action, but I guess they spawn onto the battlefield later. Back to the fight itself, I guess we'll get this underway. So I'm going to take my 2 battering rams. I have my 2 feral forces. Oh, sorry. And we're going to start to move forward. And this is an ability, Feral Cold Ones. It's one of the new mechanics that CA implemented, and basically what it is on the campaign map you can kind of tech up and up, unlock shrines, and do various things, and these will unlock army abilities, and the army abilities are essentially magic abilities that aren't tied to a particular lord or caster. It's paired with your army, and then it has kind of longish cooldowns, and those are very cool. It's going to be a new dynamic. And the one that we showed here was an ability to be able to raise Feral Cold Ones anywhere on the battlefield, which might get kind of crazy. You'll see me using it here in this battle to kind of raise, almost like a raise dead feature, back behind enemy lines. So the elves are going to start to unload on our forces, but we have some really high damage resistance on these feral units here. The dinosaurs are going to be able to take a big punishment, and so this makes them excellently paired to go up against the elven front line. Especially Grimlock here diving into the enemy, and I really love the amount of animations that they gave him. It's really ferocious. All the dinosaurs, in fact. You look at this and there's no way you can imagine that the elves have a chance. Yeah, and I'm just circling around the Carnosaur because I was hoping that we would get an action, a view of him eating a unit, and it looks like right there he grabbed one, and I think he's devouring him. Yep, there you go. Oh my god, so it's freaking brutal. Like I said, I mean, they did a great job with the animations, and I can't wait to see, you know, when Skaven comes out, what crazy stuff they're going to have too. But with all the big monsters here, they do have a lot of personalized ones. So yeah, with that big battering ram of a charge, we were able to easily shatter the elves. Although, mind you, I was playing this on easy mode, just so I wasn't kind of, you know, caught up doing microing. So on the hard mode, they were able, I can confirm, to hold out a bit stronger. So that's a little bit of a caveat to this whole thing. But anyways, my Saurus Warriors are going to be pushing forward, and everything is going to be plowing ahead. The next target for me is going to be to try and hit those bolt throws on the left, but I'm going to use one of my abilities on Krokgar. So he has a lot of cool abilities. One of them allows you to heal your units. Another one allows you to call in these like huge lightning strikes. So we'll take a look at that damage as it comes and destroys this force. So it takes out a little bit of the crew. Not super damaging because most of them are going to get up, but it's good for disruption. I can hit blobs of units. And the regen health one is also very, very useful for topping off units that would otherwise start to rampage. So at this point, I'm going to reprioritize everything, and yeah, my units are going to start coming towards these elves. The bolt thrower has actually got pretty good armor piercing, so if we were to leave it alive, it would probably start doing a lot of damage to my units, and maybe even start rampaging them. But the elves are in full retreat, at least in their first army. After this, they have a couple more units in the back. Speaking of units in the back, I also have more in the rear as well. And here, yeah, I'm just popping a heal on my unit, and now we can see a Sun Dragon coming in, and he's going to try and target Krokgar, so I pop some cold ones on top of him to try and distract him, because he can actually do a fair amount of damage. And there you see the dragon with the breath attack being actually one of the new features that they're bringing to all dragons. In fact, they're all going to have some sort of breath. And here the Saurus Warriors, these guys are rampaging, so they're out of control, and they're just pursuing the nearest target. So that does include units that are kind of routing off the screen, so that can be obviously pretty devastating to your strategic control. Anyways, I'm going to have a little bit of engagement here. My cold ones were absolutely destroyed. Oh, and we see some of the awesome match combat animations that they have, where the Sun Dragon will pick up your dinosaur. And I wonder if it pairs up with other dinosaurs as well. But there's also a counter. So that was one where he body slams me, but you'll be seeing another one, I believe, soon, where I grab him by the neck and slam him to the ground. Take that back. Maybe that's going to be in another shot. So Sun Dragon takes off, and it's going to try and seek other targets, I believe. And it looks majestic. Can't wait to see the most powerful of dragons. That's going to be really cool. So that's it for that one. Like I said, more elven units in the back. I'm just going to charge straight into that with what I have here, and then we'll start bringing in the rest of our forces. And going to get one of those abilities off, and then charge into the Illyrian Reavers. Let's see what it looks like when cavalry meets a dinosaur. Not a question you would pose yourself very frequently, but he's just going to, boom, pour right on through. Although one of the things you'll notice is his health is going to start to drop pretty rapidly, and I believe that the Silver Helms probably have bonus versus large with their lances and whatnot. So yeah, I may end up being a bit more vulnerable than I would expect otherwise. Trying to get a shot. I was curious at this point if he had an animation for eating horses. I don't believe he does. It's probably reserved to just units on foot, but that would be really cool. And yeah, it's mostly the stomping variety of attack. And like we're seeing here, this Grimlock on, Krokgar Grimlock is an extremely powerful unit. He's able to route a lot of forces. Although against an enemy human player, you'd imagine they would focus fire a bit more than the AI is at this point. So I wouldn't, well, I want to couch kind of how powerful I say he is. I know that in fact he is one of the most powerful melee characters in Warhammer. They said he's going to be, I believe, in the top 5, maybe even top 3. But that's not to say there isn't a counter to him. So I want to emphasize that for sure. And again, emphasize that we are playing here on easy mode. Anyways, the two feral units are just destroying the High Elves. I can't imagine what they're going to do against squishier units against like Warhammer 1 factions, how that's going to go down. Against Empire troops, my god, the Lizardmen are going to do so much damage with their dinosaurs. Oh, yeah, and then you saw Krokgar take out the Sun Dragon. So unfortunately, we weren't able to see too much action for it in easy mode, although when I upload the hard mode playback, you'll be able to see a bit more of that action. Anyways, I'm going to bring in some of my Basilodons with the solar engines. These guys have little skinks on them, which can fire poisonous javelins, but then they can also charge up and fire, much like the Luminarch of Hysh. It's got a little bit of a shorter range than the Luminarch, but still does a lot of damage. And that's what you want to use against dragons and maybe even heroes. And yeah, they also can obviously double like battering rams and charge into melee. Alright, so I'm going to pull up the rest of my forces. So Skinks on screen right, and the rest of my Temple Guards on screen left. But let's watch this. Swordmasters of Hoeth, Warriors of Trace. Let's see how they take this. So yeah, knocking them about. And my Skinks are going to be the ones firing in. You can see those green bolts are going to be kind of the poisonous shots that they have able to get into the action. And I'm not quite sure why my guys aren't shooting. I believe it might just be that in close combat they end up choosing to use their giant dinosaurs than lasers. But I'm not going to complain because you saw just how effective that was. Freaking crazy stuff. And this is such eye candy. Yeah, I mean, I definitely recommend you check out all the different videos people are going to be uploading today. This game is just a treat to watch. So yeah, what else can we show you? Well, there's more units routing. And basically the battle at this point is mostly one. There are 2 win conditions for this this battle. I believe one is to just wipe out, cause the entire enemy force to rout, or alternatively what you could do was to take out 2 of the elven mages who were on these little chariots, and what they were doing is they were trying to do a ritual on this whole area. And so it is your goal to either kill the army or disrupt those guys from doing their ritual. And so you can see the chariots up close, and those were also a cool thing to see as well. The elven chariots are going to be very powerful. It's cool to see that their lords can use it. But then also they have various other chariots that they can bring to the battlefield. They said one was armed with an artillery piece, so that's going to be very brutal. That one can even get up close in combat, run people over, but then also run around with a lot of range attacks. And then the elves have another chariot that's not seen in this battle, but that's more, I think it's the Tyrannoch one that's focused more on melee. But here we get to see some cold ones that I have, the riders, and they're going to be massing up for a charge. The enemy's casting all sorts of spells on me, and I do believe it looks like they revamped some of the flame attacks. It might just be me, but this looks even better than what we were seeing in Warhammer 1, and it is going to be churning through some of my Lizardmen forces here. I'm not quite sure fire does any more damage to them than otherwise, but it looks freaking so majestic. Look at it burning through my ranks. I believe if you were to throw some skinks in there, it would do a lot of damage. But my guys, the dinosaurs are getting somewhat roasted, but I have a lot of men to spare. So now we're going to be rampaging through to the final ranks at the top of this force. Again, we get to see some cool combat animations. A lot of velociraptors jumping on the enemy. I don't believe I saw any animations of them eating them, but I do wish that CA would put little Easter eggs in there and somehow bring back to life the clever girl combat animation. I don't know how you would do that. You would have to involve, you know, 2 raptors and 1 guy, but that would be freaking hilarious. So yeah, a lot of my a lot of my units here are rampaging. So you could see how if the enemy had still high strength, that could be a big problem because they're all chasing otherwise routing units, and that would allow the enemy to focus fire on my remaining units that haven't routed. But in this case, on easy mode, doesn't matter too much. In the harder mode variant, you'll be seeing how that plays a little bit more of an effect. And it's definitely going to be an important mechanic when you play multiplayer against other forces, and even on the campaign, something to keep track of. You can easily start to get kind of a chain route of your units as they start to rampage. And especially with focus fire, mages, and long-range units, the enemy can strategically force your core components to fall apart and rampage. And then they could even, I'm not quite sure how it works, if it's proximity or whatever, but there may even be a chance that you can trigger kind of units that are rampaging. I believe they're going to rampage kind of, oh my god, I believe they're going to rampage the closest unit to them. So what you could do is once you get an important enemy unit to start rampaging, throw a very light cavalry force at them, or a disposable force, and use that to kind of bait them off the battlefield. So that might be an interesting little mechanic that we see. Although the counter option to that is, well, hey, that takes micro from your opponent to make happen, which is kind of a cost that not everyone's going to be able to do. So, yeah. And now the chariots are going to try and help the enemy prince. So we have 3 lords in this engagement, but it looks like they're going to be seen off by a headbutting dinosaur here. The Triceratops doing lots of work, and he's now going to square up against the 2 chariots. They're going to try and circle him. They're whipping their horses to get the fuck out of here. And yeah, that's a good call. The rest of my troops have claimed the altar here. So we're going to reform, and I'm going to circle about with these skinks and try and focus fire on the enemy heroes. And the rest of my troops, I'm going to circle back around and just try and chase off what remains. So yeah, that's kind of it. And let's get a nice shot of the elves here parting. And get the rest of my Lizardmen chasing, because that's the scene I think you're going to be seeing a lot in the campaign, as the Lizardmen hordes chase you around. Oh, and now we finally get to see some of the parting shots of those solar engines. Really brutal stuff. You can see the pretty good range on them, and they're rumbling over there in the distance. I believe he's going to try and get a shot off. Oh no, it looks like... Oh, yeah, there you go. Last shot. And then after that, the elves are going to be out of range. But he is shivering with how giddy he is. That was kind of funny. And man, look at these lumbering beasts. So freaking cool. I am so eager to see more of the Lizardmen roster, and especially to see what CA does with that Skaven roster when it finally gets revealed. But yeah, that's it for the battle. Can't say it was too strategic, but again, like I said, check out that other video I'll be uploading, which is a bit more strategic. But for now, let's see the final days of the Elves. Their chariot here are going to try and hold strong. Skinks are going to be using their blowpipes to hit them, and then they're going to get checked by this feral unit, exploding one of the chariots. So that is quite a way to end, and then we're going to wheel about and try and deal with the last unit. It's going to try and whip the horses to get out of there, but they are frozen in place in fear, it would appear. Yeah, and finally he's going to see his way off the battlefield. And they're pretty quick, so they could outrun my dinosaurs. And that's exactly what they're going to do. And that should be it for the battle. There was also a counter. Oh, and I didn't really use these units. Apologize. I'll be using them in another battle. But essentially, what those guys do is they can fly around and drop bombs with their bolas. Kind of like how gyrocopters do it. And I'm actually a big fan of the skinks. They're very fast, very mobile, and they have poison, so that's a good way to kind of debuff key enemy units if need be, although they are pretty squishy. I don't believe they're going to rampage, but if they get hit by almost anything, cavalry, they're going to shatter pretty quick. But yeah, that's it for this battle. Hope you guys enjoyed. Stay tuned for more, and see you in the next one. Peace out.